But reparations have to be given to black people, even as Jews received reparations from the onslaught of Nazi Germany. And now the Japanese are going to receive reparations for what America did by putting them in concentration camps. What's wrong with the children of slaves? We are here poor, ragged, hungry, naked, and out of doors. Reparations is what we want, and everyone that had a part in our destruction will have a part in paying reparations. I'll be right back with more Louis Farrakhan.
You don't want integration. You want separate schools and, if possible, a separate territory in this country or in Africa.
Separation is not the main goal. That is the goal. If we cannot get along in peace, then we have to separate. Like two married people who have tried to live together and have irreconcilable differences. They go before a judge, and there's a settlement, and there's alimony.
And you want reparations like alimony?
Yes.
To every African American? You want money paid to every African American?
Why should not America do something to repair the damage that has been done to black people for over 400 years of oppression?
By giving everyone money?
Not money. A fool and his money will soon part. If you gave our people with their mentality today $20,000, $40,000, $100,000, it would go right back out of our community tomorrow. But if we are allowed land and money, a way to become economically self-sufficient, to do for ourselves, to build homes, to build factories, then we would say America is beginning to repair the damage. Can you understand, Miss Walters, how we feel? Blacks were bitten by vicious dogs and beaten with clubs and cattle prodded and water hoses put on us. 2 or 3 whites died. Many, many blacks died. Died for what? That we could drink water at a fountain and go to toilet? What was our sweat and our blood in all of these wars for? That we should die to go to a toilet? That we should die to have a cup of coffee? Can you understand our hurt?
I can never fully understand what your people went through. I can try as a human being, regardless of what my religion or race may be. I can try, you can try.
Some of the issues that so many have, speaking of issues, with the whole notion of slavery reparations, let me just walk down a list of them and get your responses. This is perhaps not first on the list, but it's high up on the list. And that is, we hear white Americans say, I didn't own any slaves. I wasn't a slave master. I didn't have any slaves as chattel or as property. Why should I, in the 21st century, be asked to pay reparations?
Well, it's very true that the present generation of whites had nothing to do with our enslavement. But the fact of the matter is that black people as a people have been set at naught by slavery and by the government of the United States of America, complicit in slavery from the very beginning. And since black people have been set at naught and robbed completely of the knowledge of themselves, their names, their language, culture, religion, God, and history, then it seems to me that it is only right that the government of the United States and the people of the United States accept responsibility, even if they did not do it themselves. You know, O.J. Simpson was found innocent of murder, but found guilty because he was said to be responsible. The whites of today are responsible for the condition that has been handed down on us and the favor that has been handed down to them. And until and unless America faces up to the evil of slavery and what it has done to put black people in America in the condition that we're in, then race relations in America can never, ever get better, and the wounds will never heal.
There are those who point to people like Oprah Winfrey and Michael Jordan and Bill Cosby, and not just names of persons that we all know. Indeed, most of those black folk are richer than most white folk I know. But they point to even people like myself, admittedly, who are part of the black middle class, and say that black folk are doing better now than they've ever done before, and y'all don't need reparations. You're doing extremely well as a people, better than you've ever done before.
You know, Tavis, even though there is a larger middle class black community than ever before of so-called, and I say so-called, successful black people, we cannot judge the condition of an entire nation by a group of successful black people. You are successful, maybe I'm successful, others are successful, but we've got nearly 40 million people in America that are still suffering and falling further and further behind. And those that have done well have not pooled their resources to help the masses come out of the condition that the masses are in. So we don't want the middle class, the successful ones, to be used as a mannequin in the store of democracy to sell to the masses of black people that we can achieve just like you have achieved, when in reality, the ignorance, the pervasive ignorance, and the racism that exists in America will allow a few to escape, but the masses are caught in the fisherman's net.
Speaking of the masses, there are those who say, Minister Farrakhan, that it is because there are too many folk in black America, too many of the masses, who by their own doing have found themselves socially, economically, politically disenfranchised. Nobody put a gun to black men's head and said more of y'all should go to jail than go to college. No one put a gun to a sister's head, so many of them, and said have babies before you are wed. The point is that there are a lot of folk who point to the conditions of black America and say not slavery, but the condition that black folk are in today is a condition of their own making. And if y'all would right the ship, you would need a check for reparations.
You know, that's a very wicked thought, Tavis, because when you say condition, you're looking at an effect. But until you and others are able to look at the cause that produced this effect, how dare any white man say to us that there's a gun in our hands and we are the culprit that have produced the condition that we're in? Granted, we contribute to it, but there's a whole scenario, brother. That's what America needs to look at, the cause that produced this effect. And I would debate with anybody, when you sit down and look at the cause of black-on-black violence, the cause of the guns in the black neighborhood, the drugs in the black neighborhood, the guns in the black neighborhood, black organizations and black leaders set at naught by a counterintelligence program of the government of the United States. No, no, no. This government cannot escape culpability for the problems that exist. And until America is willing to face her own wicked hand in our condition, there will never be any peace, and judgment will come down on this nation as it came down on Pharaoh and Egypt, and as it came down on the wicked slave masters of the past.
Let me continue playing devil's advocate. There are some folk, I speak now, Brother Minister, of folk inside of black America. Because as you well know, there is not a universal agreement inside of black America that reparations ought to be the agenda. There is no uniform definition of what reparations ought to be. So first, what do you say to folk who say, if we gave y'all a check, y'all wouldn't know what to do with it? You'd go out and use it to buy cars and to buy the kinds of items that you already have a record of spending money on anyway, and that the money wouldn't even be well spent if we gave y'all a check.
You know, it's not about a check, Tavis. A fool and his money will soon part. The enemy can print money and give you money, but if he doesn't allow you to get the sense of how to use the power of a dollar to gain what you really need to repair the damage, then a check won't do. So to give black people money is not just the answer. That may be a part of the answer, but that will not repair the damage. You got a people that know nothing about themselves. You got a people that have been taught systematically to hate themselves and to love other than themselves. A check will not solve that problem, but it is teachers that have that kind of knowledge that impart that knowledge to our people that will help to heal that mental wound. But then if America realizes what she has done to us, and if she gave reparations to the Japanese and reparations to Italian Americans and German Americans and even Chinese Americans, what is wrong with the African American who has been set at naught? No, reparations is a right cry, and it will take the face, the mask of civility off of white people, and then you'll see them as they are. But this cry for justice is coming up, and it will not go down. We'll force you to recognize the evil that your hands have done and what justice is that we deserve.
How do you respond to folks, as I continue here in Black History Month to raise these devil advocate questions? How do you respond to folks, Brother Minister, who say that the problem here is that black leaders, again, to my earlier point, have not come together uniformly to say that we want reparations? Let me tell you what I mean by this, and give me 30 seconds to set this up. I had the occasion any number of times, as you know, to interview President Clinton when he was in the White House. One of those conversations, one of those interviews on national television came when I traveled with him to the continent of Africa. He went to a 7-8 nation tour of Africa, you'll recall, during his presidency. I was with him on that trip, did a live interview from Ghana, South Africa, as a matter of fact. We talked to the president in South Africa. One of the questions I got a chance to ask him in advance of his trip to Goree Island was whether or not he, in fact, was going to apologize for slavery. You'll recall there was a lot of heat he was taking back then about whether or not he should apologize for slavery once he landed on African soil, on the soil in the motherland. There were a lot of black leaders on that trip. Pretty much everybody who's anybody except you was on the plane with the president on Air Force One traveling to the continent of Africa. And one of the reasons it occurred to me as I traveled with the president that he wasn't going to apologize for slavery is that all the black leaders in America who were traveling with him could not agree on whether or not he should apologize for slavery and whether or not reparations should then come after that. Half the Negroes on the plane were saying, Mr. President, it ain't your fault. You ain't got to apologize. The other half of the black leaders were saying, maybe you should apologize. And so the president, my point is, he got cover and didn't have to apologize because black leaders could not come together on this question. So how do you respond to folk, having said all of that, who say to you that y'all can't come to the government or anybody else asking for something until y'all figure out what y'all really want to do?
Well, you know, there's always been a hand-picked group that placate the feelings of the slave master and his children. I would imagine that just being on Air Force One was compensation for slavery for some of those quote-unquote Negroes. But that won't work with me, and that won't work with tens of thousands, yea, millions of black people. There's a new crop of leadership coming up. Randall Robinson is a man that has made it in America, a brilliant black man, an intelligent black man. He wrote a book called The Debt. He is of the middle class, but you couldn't get him on Air Force One to act in that silly manner. But those Negroes that spoke that, they won't be in leadership over our people in a few days. In South Africa, brother, before Nelson Mandela came out of prison, it's these kinds of handkerchief head, knees bending, back scratching, head scratching, shuffling Negroes. It's these kind that they put tires around their neck with gasoline in it. Don't you be surprised at what will come up from the masses of black people in their anger and hurt over leadership that refuses to speak to the needs of our people. We're not asking for what we don't deserve. Now, some of these same Negroes will tell you that the Jews deserve payment, reparations for the Holocaust. 12 years of their suffering in Nazi Germany. Here we are, 400 years in America, suffering from the first century of our presence to this very day. And you mean to tell me a black man can be a leader of black people and can't see the need to redress our grievance? Then those kind of leaders will be buried in the sand of ignominy in just a few days.
Let me ask you how it is that you think this issue is ever going to get traction. Randall Robinson, you referenced earlier, did in fact write a brilliant book about the debt, and I think made the case as good as anybody can make for why America does in fact owe Black America a debt, if in fact one believes that. Randall, I think, made the best case. But the question is this. John Conyers, Democratic member of the House out of Detroit, you know well, has for years now, almost a dozen years now, every single congressional session, he has introduced legislation, not for reparations, Brother Minister, as you know.
Just to study the problem.
There you go. Just to have a commission to study the problem. That,
and it never has gotten out of committee.
It won't. You know my question then.
Exactly.
How's this issue going to get traction and you can't get a commission established out of committee?
That's why on February the 29th, my subject is, what does Europe and America owe, and what does God promise? See, it's in America's hand right now. Can you imagine a president of the United States not even willing to say, we're sorry for what has been done to black people? But if you make any statement, Tavis, that could be considered slightly anti-Semitic, they'll be all over you in the morning asking you to apologize. And if you don't apologize for yourself, then stand up and apologize for Louis Farrakhan. But you mean to tell me these people that set us at naught can't stand up and say, I'm sorry, when the Pope of Rome has asked Africa and the indigenous people of this planet to forgive the Catholic Church for the evils that the Catholic Church has done to the indigenous. And America can't even start the process of atonement by offering us an apology. Hey, Tavis, after a while, it's not going to be in the hands of the Congress of the United States. It's in the hands of God, and our problem is before his court. And that's why I know that the scriptures will be fulfilled. We'll get justice, all right, if not from the hands of those who perpetrated the crime against us. We'll get justice from God himself. And when he gives it, I feel sorry for those who had a chance to do better and wouldn't even apologize and start the process.
Let me ask you then, as I said earlier in this conversation, everybody knows February is Black History Month, and so we celebrate the contributions of African Americans to this place that we live in called America. It's not lost on me that in May of this year, as you well know, we will celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Brown versus Board of Education case, the seminal case that declared unconstitutional, illegal, separate but equal education in this country, and then everything else started to fall apart with regard to segregation. That is, the question though is this: if after all this time, on the eve of the 50th anniversary of that case, we still cannot, to your point, get a single American president to even apologize for slavery. Never mind the checks now. You can't even get an apology for slavery. What does that say to you in Black History Month '04 about the progress or lack thereof we've made in America around the issue of race relations?
Well, Tavis, in all truth, the progress can be made if the effort is really sincere. The 1954 historic decision to outlaw separate but equal in education, if it were really sincere, integration would have been a reality in the education of the country by now. But it has reverted to just what it was. Why? Because as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, integration is a hypocritical trait. To make the black man feel that his 400-year-old enemy has all of a sudden become our friend. If you can't get an apology, if you can't even get a an elected official, many of whom got there from the vote of black people, to admit that a great wrong has been done to an entire people, and that wrong has to be redressed. Otherwise, one of these presidents said, I fear for my country when I reflect that God is just and that his justice cannot sleep forever. It's not going to be in the hands of white people to do justice by us in a few days from now. And that's what happened to Pharaoh. The just thing was, let the people go. Don't play with their lives. You don't want us, let them go. But they didn't want to do that. So God stepped in and destroyed Pharaoh and his army. America right now is on her way down. You can see it if you look. All this dancing and music and partying, that's not blinding all the American people. It is as it was in the days of Noah. They were drinking, dancing, partying when the end came. And in the days of Lot in Sodom and Gomorrah, they were doing the same. And so it is today. You're partying, but your world is coming down. Justice, or else face the wrath of a mighty God who will not ask no questions when the time of judgment has come.
I've got just a couple of minutes here. Our time is never long enough to delve into all these issues. But let me ask you right quick, since you mentioned integration very quickly, whether or not you think that integration, many people 50 years after Brown v. Board, certainly on the education front, are starting to think that integration may have been not the best thing for black folk in the first place. Your thoughts on whether integration was a mistake?
In the South, we had black motels, black hotels, black restaurants, black cleaners, black bus companies, black insurance companies, black this, black that. Now, the black man in America is woefully lacking in those industries, those businesses that give jobs to ourselves and keep our dollar within ourselves to improve our community. I think that integration, if it were sincere, people respecting each other, people trying to get along with each other, but acknowledging wrong. I have to give Germany credit because Germany acknowledged we did something wrong. The present generation of Germans did not put the Jewish people in those gas chambers and burn their flesh. But they know it was a former generation that did it, so the responsibility was on the present government of Germany to right the wrong. And they have given billions of dollars and also assistance, technically and otherwise, to Israel and to the Jewish people. We applaud that. That's right that they should do that. And it is right that America recognizes the contribution that we have made to make this country great. Our young men, along with young white men and brown men, are dying in Iraq over the misadventure of a president, in my judgment, who is guilty of criminal behavior. Yeah. But if we don't recognize truth and do justice on the basis of truth, we are all lost.
So now let's talk about reparation. Tell me something. You know, I know, we know the government owes us. And we're going to press them for what they owe. But don't be stupid. The dollar is falling faster than a penny dropped from the Empire State Building, falling at 32 feet per second per second. America is borrowing money to pursue the mad policy of the Bush administration. $300 million raped from the Treasury to pursue an unjust immoral war. Asia has more dollars than America has. And if the Asians ask for the reality of what they have, they can collapse the American economy. Right now, Korea is trading some of her dollars for euros. And the dollar is sinking against the euro and the yen and the mark. So if the enemy said, come on, Negroes, we recognize we done you wrong, we done you wrong, we done you wrong. We giving all you Negroes $100,000 and thank you for building my country. Thank you for your 300 years of free labor. Thank you, Negroes, for fighting our wars. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Years ago, you could buy a Lincoln Continental for less than $8,000. So what is $100,000 today? You can't even buy one of the top Mercedes Benz. Your $100,000 gone if you want to ride a Benz and then can't pay for the gas. So a fool and his money so don't let Congress and don't let no punctified man speak up for you when it come time to negotiate. Now this is a thing that if you don't know what you're doing, you better get the hell away from that. Because this is serious. Your people will kill you for putting up the wrong figures. So none of you half-baked Negroes can speak for the hurt of a people that you don't even feel yourself. When it come time to negotiate, it ain't about dollars as much as it is about land. I want you to listen to me good. To my young student brothers and sisters, it's really nice to come out of college with a degree in music. We've always been good singers and dancers and players. And certainly you can always get a job making rich folk happy with your non-threatening degree. It's nice for you to get a degree in sociology and psychology and theater and physical education. Because we've always had Negroes with big, strong backs and muscles, and if they want to be physically fit, well, we don't need them now to tote that barge and lift that bale. But we need to get a lot of them niggas hooked on dope and sent to jail. So, those are degrees that are non-threatening. So liberal arts colleges are fine. Let's fund liberal arts. Because the Negro is going to try to be a lawyer, bless his heart. And the Negro is going to practice my style of medicine, but I'm killing him before he even gets there with debt. You're a slave before you leave college. By the time you leave college, they can present you with a bill that knocks you on your behind before you can even get up off the ground. America should give every black man and woman free education all the way to the doctorate degree. To deprive us of the human right to know for 300 years against the law to teach a black man how to read. So open up the doors then. If you want to help us repair the damage, we'll take what you give, but we'll augment it with a serious black studies course. Black studies cannot be translated into money unless you know what you're doing. But science, mathematics, all forms of engineering, keep the Negroes out of that. Because once they become mathematicians, they think on another level, then they can trouble the waters, because civilization is built on mathematics. When you don't know mathematics, then you become the servant of the mathematician upon which civilization is built. Science and technology build. Well, we're going to send you to theological seminaries. Seminaries, pardon me. To the dear students of ITC, listen to me good. The Bible says God created the heavens and the earth with wisdom. The Holy Quran says he created the heavens and the earth with truth. We live in a mathematical science creation. You yourself are a mathematical scientific creation. And this body can only be upkept by science and mathematics. Mathematics in what you choose to put in. Mathematics in the measurement of what you put in to affect any disease that you may have. So when religion conflicts with mathematics, it is not mathematics that is wrong. It is religion that has to be brought into reconciliation with science and mathematics. Farrakhan, are you against religion? Of course not. I love theology. I'm a student of it. But when you take scripture and learn how to use it, it's high science. It is not entertainment. It is high science. You can't even interpret the scripture without a knowledge of science. In the beginning, Genesis, God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. And he separated the light from the darkness, and one party called day and the other party called night. And he said, ah, this is good. There's high science in that. People talk about, do you believe in creation theory or do you believe in evolution? I believe in both. How did you start? The Holy Quran says you started from sperm mixed with ovum, then a clot, then an embryo, then a fetus. Then he brought you forth out of the darkness of your mother's womb, complete yet incomplete. That's evolution. We are all evolving toward God, evolving toward perfection. God has evolved creation. This is why when we use the term Lord in Islam, we use an Arabic word, Rab, which means he who originates the creation, then makes it attain stage after stage until it reaches its eventual perfection. So God is both creator and evolver of all things toward perfection. Well, now, those of you in theology, you must not come out of this course teaching your people in a way that it is more entertainment than real scriptural science. If you're going to teach theology, teach it in a way that enlivens the spirit. Now, I know this is a talk on reparations, but what you think I've been talking on? Let me be very frank. The white man can't heal us. He can pay for what he did, but he don't have the science to heal what his fathers did in messing us up. Now I'm gonna prove it. First of all, you have to know what happened to you. See, most of you, when you count slavery, you count it from 1619, 1620. Have you ever heard of the $64 question? The $64,000 question? Have you ever asked why 64? Why not 65? Why not 63? Why not 60? There are 64 hidden years of your history that turned you from an African into a Negro with no knowledge of your name, your language, your culture, your religion, your God, your history. That happened over a period of time where the older African parents were separated from the children. The parents killed off. And the enemy reared the children. That is why you don't know anything about your past in Africa, because if they didn't kill your mother, she would have given you your mother language. She would have taught you your mother culture. But you don't dress like your African mother dress. You dress like some freakish woman out of Paris, London, and Milan. Talk back to me, black woman. You don't know your mother's dressing room. Because if you knew your mother's dressing room, you would dress like mama dressed. But when they brought mama here, they stripped her of her robes. They stripped her of her fine garments. And they put her in a gunny sack and that kind of burlap mess. These are the years that white folk don't want to talk about because it was the most cruel thing ever done to a people, to strip you totally of who you are, what you are, who your God is, what your religion is, and then rear you like an animal. But still in you was the science. You built the fine mansions of the whites in the South. See, you built them. So you had to have been a builder back home, not swinging in trees. You were a builder back home. So you built the master's plantation. They brought slaves to build the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. And I don't doubt that it's slaves that built the Georgia Capitol. We're builders. We sewed the white woman's dresses. We cooked the white people's food. You knew. They couldn't take it out of your nature, but your head, you couldn't remember your greatness. So if you don't know who you are or what you were, you don't know who you are. And if you don't know who you are, you don't know what to expect from yourself. See? Then religion, when they finally gave it to you, they gave it to you as a tool to make you a better servant of white supremacy. Please follow me. I'm not against Jesus Christ. I love Jesus with a profound passion. But I hate what they've done in his name. You hear me well? They know that Jesus was a man of color, but they made him white for their purpose. You must never see yourself in connection with divine. You must never think of yourself as a connecting link with God. You must always see that link as coming through white people. So in your mind, he's the natural ruler because he looks like Jesus. In your mind, he's the natural king because he looks like Jesus. In your mind, he's good looking because he looks like Jesus. And in that same mind, when you look in the mirror and see your black face, your nappy hair, your broad nose, and your thick lips, you say, God, why did you do this to us? See? So you are already fixed to come out of college and go to white people and look for a job. You're already fixed. Not quite. Because when I heard Brother Malik asking about the verdict, sound like somebody been unfixing somebody. Now, I want you to know that Brother Farrakhan would not waste time teaching hatred. I think they have done a masterful job. But I'm saying to you students that to look to government to repair us is looking in the wrong direction. They don't know how, and if they knew how, they don't have the will or the desire to repair black people. But in our unity, listen to me good now, we can force them to make reparations for what they've done. And Cobra can't do it by herself. NBUF and the National Black United Front can't do it by itself. And as long as we are divided, they will not listen to Brother Minister Silas Muhammad. They will not listen to him. They will not listen to me. They will not listen to any of us. They will laugh.
That's right. Go ahead, man.
Because you have no power to bring about what you're asking for unless you stop your jackass behavior and become a united people. Let me conclude.
That's right.
They're not going to listen. But if we speak with one mighty, strong voice, they can't help it. We're 40 million or more strong in America. We've got the best educated black people in the world. Just need a little love for yourself and your people. We have nearly $750 billion coming through our hands each year. You're not poor. You're just not organized. And you're disconnected from one another. That's why Jesus said, you can't serve God and mammon too. You love one and you'll hate the other. And as long as the white man can offer you money and you bow down and sacrifice principles on the altar of profit, you're not worthy to lead your people. So I'm saying to us, I'm with us all the way to Washington to make the demand. We'll fight hard as hell to make the demand. But I'm saying to us, it ain't the white man that's stopping you. We say we demand an immediate end to police brutality and mob attacks. Well, that's nice. That's nice. Negroes know how to march the minute a white policeman kill a black brother. But every weekend, we're sending each other to the morgue and ain't nobody saying nothing. How can you stop the white man's murder of you when you won't stop murdering yourself? So, in my conclusion, what they did to us rendered us dead as a people. Dead. Mentally, morally, spiritually, politically, economically, socially dead. Our condition is styled in the scriptures of both Bible and Quran as the resurrection. To my Muslim family, look at these words in the Quran. The devil is talking to God. And the devil says to God, respite me till the day when they are raised. In the 75th surah of the Quran, it says, nay, I swear by the resurrection. I swear by the self-accusing spirit. A man is not awake until his own spirit accuses him when he's a wrongdoer. A moral awakening needs to happen among us. I want you to hear me, because you've been looking too hard at the white man and too soft at yourself. But if we got our act together, we could force him and he would bow down. He would bow down. I live to see you rise to be what God created you to be. And I believe that this is the year, better than any year in the past, for us to break down all walls and barriers that have separated us one from the other. And this is why Brother Malik Zulu Shabazz and I are on the same stage, representing a return of Brother Khalid to his father, his spiritual father. And I believe that that's why I'm here with Brother Conrad, because Malcolm is back. I believe that Marcus Garvey is back, Martin is back, Harriet Tubman is back. This is our time. Let's take advantage of it and be a whole people again. Thank you for listening, and may God bless you as I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Close out with prayer right here. Come here, sister. This is one of Jeremiah's white students. She's going to close this out with prayer.